democracy works. If they do otherwise, of course, it will be failure. So, in that case, I would say it falters, it gets up, is work in progress. And I believe that we should not lose sight of the fact that democracy for now in Nigeria is the best system of government that we can have. And it is our responsibility as players to walk the walk and walk the talk and ensure that it works in Nigeria and Africa.
Okay. When I was being impeached, the president sent people to come and intervene on my behalf. Ken Naman came begging House people not to impeach me. Today, the president impeaches the person. Even when I was impeached, President Obasanjo called me and said, "Are you okay? Are you safe?" When I go back from the court, when court eventually declared me under Ndimba, President Yar'Adua called my phone in London and said, "Congrats." I said, "President, I can't come back because, if I come back, these people," he said, "Tell me the flight in which you're coming back." And I told him, when I came in the first time, military people came to receive me at the airport. I couldn't believe it. I took me straight to him. Now the president will ask me not to come back here again. So insane. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about how we are going to do it. It's collapsed.
Well, those were excerpts from a conversation that transpired yesterday at a colloquium in honor of Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha as he clocked 60. The question was, is democracy failing in Africa? And clearly you could see that the respondents had different takes on it. So we are going to, dovetail this conversation into the implications for democracy. Because if there's anywhere where the one institution that is considered a bastion of democracy, it is the legislature. And right now we're talking about the recall of, or the purported recall of a senator. I'm just wondering, if you were to expand the larger conversation, this has grave implications. How this is conducted has grave implications for our democracy. Do you agree?
Very strong, very strongly, very strongly. And it really makes me, and for every Nigerian should be crying. I was just speaking with some people yesterday, and a military person told me that it's losing confidence in the system because we are not following our laws. We are not following the Constitution. We are not following mind, will, an arrangement, sentiment. So whatever I want to have right now must be based on who I know, what the person I know in power can give to me, not what the law says I can get. And that is what is playing out right now. And talking about the National Assembly, you could see one of the issues that came during the week was when they were talking about getting the approval from
the National Assembly for the state of emergency.
For the state of emergency.
In Rivers.
I expected that the National Assembly, like we have seen in the past, to have come up to say, no, we cannot get to this point because the reason for the state of emergency has not even arisen before it was declared. I felt very strongly that the president, who we have very strong respect for, as a Democrat, I cannot put it within my head that the president himself can make such declaration with respect to Rivers State. Then the National Assembly, who should be a check in the normal democratic setting, like you see in other crimes, the National Assembly is to put a check, is to say, oh, Mr. Executive, can you look at this? We need this, we need you to hold on and see whether it's, because I was just laughing when I saw the sole administrator appointing an SSG. Now, why I laughed when I was in the studio was because the background for Section 305 is that if you look at the first section, is you can declare a state of emergency when the Federation is at war, or there's an actual breakdown of law and order, or likely a breakdown of law and order. You see, the real issue is breakdown of law and order. So the first person I expected him to appoint is to appoint security to go to the pipeline and protect it. It's not to appoint an SSG, because that we are doing is governance. The Constitution does not recognize the appointment of a sole administrator in the governance of a country when you have elected a governor. So the duty of a sole of state of emergency is to take, you look at the Constitution, it says to take an extraordinary measures in terms of security, measure to make sure that the state, that particular state, is secure. It could be as a result of flood, it could be as a result of disaster, but the extraordinary measure will be to address the issue of threats to life and property. But what we saw is the first appointment is to appoint an SSG. As if there's a problem in the government house. You want to start governance? No.
But isn't that
your measure should be to make sure that the state is secured. It's not him to see that people have sent people to the creeks to see why there is an explosion. No, he's not doing that. He's putting an SSG. There is something fundamentally wrong with our system.
Yeah, but some people will argue, I mean, that the deployment of soldiers is not within the purview of a sole administrator. The soldiers will only respond to their commander-in-chief, who is the president, and from what we understand, that was already done.
Who appointed the sole administrator? The administrator is an extension of the president, because he was not elected. He couldn't have said he's representing Rivers people. So the sole administrator is an extension of the president. Because he was appointed to do what?
Yeah, but even
not to govern the state.
Yeah, but does
to
his
take
powers,
extraordinary measure?
Yeah, does his powers then extend to, appoint to, deploying soldiers?
Because you are doing the bidding. The president appoints you. That's what I'm saying. He appointed you for something to forestall breakdown of law and order for security issues. And if you had that, that there were explosions and all of that. So that is the point I'm trying to make. That the intention of Section 305 is to address issue of breakdown of law and order. So the president's appointee, which in this case is the sole administrator, is to make sure that the state is secured. To make sure that those persons people who intended to cause breakdown of law and order, that they have been tamed. So I shouldn't be hearing SSG. No. You must keep the state safe. I expected the president should have told him, okay, the commander, GOC, be in the creeks. That is what we'll be saying.
Yeah, but I mean,
that is the misplacement, and that is the
this is
abuse.
Not a justification. But what we heard also yesterday was that the head of service in Rivers State resigned, which of course, raises issues. Governance will still be going on in the middle of all that is happening, even security-wise in the state. If there are upheavals within the state civil service, wouldn't there be need to make sure that, whatever it is brought under control? Good question.
If the head of civil service resigns, the most senior officer should take over. It happens. It's not within his purview to appoint. He's not elected. You have an elected. The governor was just suspended. I don't want to even. I saw a lot of media reports saying former governor. There's nothing like former governor Fubara. His tenure is for 4 years. So he was just suspended in the suppression. But just like state of emergency was declared by Jonathan during the time of insecurity. And it was to take extra. If you look at the language, it's for extraordinary measures for security. So it is not within the purview of the sole administrator to appoint any person that has to do with governance. Because if he does, it means that was the intention. A man intended the consequence of his action. So it means that there was an intention to hijack and capture the governance of Rivers State. And that is not the intention of Section 205. And that also faults the idea of suspension, of declaration of the suspension of the governor, his deputy, and the members of the State House of Assembly.
Let me bring the conversation back to the National Assembly, because you spoke about, what you expected of the National Assembly in that event. The National Assembly, at least in the House of Reps, in the Senate, we saw just how the debate went. Senator Seriake Dixon, raising an objection initially, and then much later we understand that I think about 3 senators or so walked out of that conversation to indicate their displeasure as to how the process was being handled, including Senator Tambuwal, who was there. In the House of Representatives, there was a correction or an amendment of some sort to what the president sought. The president, said that the Federal Executive Council was going to be making decisions for the governance in Rivers State. And the House of Reps said no. it is not within your purview. It is the House of Representatives that has the powers to do so in the event of breakdown of law and order, and the House of Assembly is unable to carry out its own constitutional duties. So do you think that in this instance, much as you might not agree about how the process was carried out in the House or the decision which they reached, do you think that they at least still stood up for something?
Yes, for the House of Representatives, that was good. And if you look at the declaration by the president, he also said that the Federal Executive Council will know. It is when there's a breakdown of law that such that the State House of Assembly cannot carry their function. The function of the State House of Assembly goes back to the National Assembly. So National Assembly start making laws for that particular state. So it is not in the Federal Executive Council. Now, so the House of Representatives, answering your question, they tried, but you see, there are something that are things that are fundamental. The issue of quorum, because that is a constitutional matter. You must establish first if there's a quorum, and not by saying that you have the register of members. No, you don't say you have a register of members. Anybody could have put his name and have gone out of the house, because you can indicate, you can come in, sign in your register and walk out. The quorum that is expected is the quorum of the persons inside the house. So the reference to, oh, we are making use of the register, that itself is improper.
And it was after the vote was done. We had the speaker say, you know, for the records,
yeah,
we have 243 members, you know, who signed on this
based
register.
On the register.
Yes, but we also heard a member, you know, who had taken objection, saying, Mr. Speaker, we need to take attendance of how many people are actually here.
Yeah, and that is you see, that is democracy. Why? It is because of what you want to approve. It's a constitutional matter. It is not a matter you should do a voice vote. You are going to be you are suspending elected persons. So it shouldn't be done with a kid's glove. So you must establish in the first place whether the total number of persons as required by the Constitution has been established before you proceed, because anything that is proceeded in error goes to no issue. But like you said, that we were discussing, we are not following, these are undemocratic democratic actions that we are seeing coming from the National Assembly. And I am praying and expecting that our leaders should conduct themselves in such a way that people on the street should have confidence in the system. Because by the time the people start losing confidence in the system, it's going to increase the rate of crime in Nigeria, because crime always increases when people lost confidence in the system.
Okay, I'm just seeing this breaking news now coming in. Trying to confirm this. It says Justice Obiora Egwatu of the Federal High Court Abuja, who recently issued the controversial ex parte order against the Senate and its Ethics Committee in the case filed by suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, has officially recused himself from the matter today, March 25, 2025. We understand the case has now been adjourned sine die to allow the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court reassign it to a new judge. This is information that is just coming in, that Justice Egwatu of the Federal High Court, who recently issued the controversial, because they are saying this is controversial ex parte order against the Senate and its Ethics Committee in the case filed by suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, has officially recused himself from the matter today. So, I don't know, this is news, this is just coming in. I do not know what you make of this.
Pressure. I mean, it's very simple as his lordship is under intense pressure.
You think that this is, do you think it is controversial? Because there are people who have found it quite curious that Senator Natasha, went to court against the Senate Ethics Committee, seeking that, they not take any action on certain things. She filed a petition to this same Senate Committee on Ethics with regards to a sexual harassment matter, but didn't take this same case to the court of law. Is there a reason for that?
Okay, because like you said, what she took to court was when she heard that she was going to be suspended. I was aware as one of her lawyers. I filed the first suit of defamation against the Senate President and his aide, So we didn't take the issue of sexual assault to the court because we know that she's going to present it before the floor, so that allegation is against the Senate President. they are going to deal with it. And so she felt that she should present it before the House because it is affecting our legislative duty as a senator. So not just that is the criminal part of it under the various penal code, but she said no, she needs to let the House know so they can deal with it. Now that issue was not in a court. We therefore expected that the Senate will just look into that issue.
Yeah, but the Senate also did say, I remember the first time when this matter was raised on the floor of the Senate, when she brought it up. I don't know whether I was one of the senators who said it was dead on arrival because
yes, the Sharma Senate Committee.
She did not get the signature of
she signed by herself.
Yes, another senator was supposed to endorse it. I also heard the majority leader, Senator Kweyemi Bamidele, saying that the Senate could not look at that matter because the matter was in court, and that was because the Senate president's wife had taken the issue to court, given the allegation that she had already made on TV before bringing the petition to them. Do you think that that could have put a hold or prevented the Senate Ethics Committee from looking at her petition?
The wife of the Senate president is not a member of the Senate.
Indeed, but the matter was, she took the matter to court.
No, what she took to court, I was served with the process. Mm-hmm. So what she took to court was defamation, that not that act, that you defamed me by what you said against the Senate president, my husband. So the issue of defamation is one angle. They are going to look, does it amount to defamation? So the issue of, did he commit this offense, was anything like that, was not a subject that, should be talking about, that should be in court. So she just saying you defame. And if you look at it, of course, that is what the court will determine. She made an allegation against the Senate, the person of the Senate president. And I responded to that allegation that, look, madam, don't worry about your response. It is the business between the Senate president and Senator Natasha. So he has the capacity and the right to respond. So if he has anything against what Senator Natasha has said, he should be given the opportunity to respond. You should just hold on your peace. Let your husband respond. And that is what it should be. The allegation is made directly to the Senate president.
How confident was she that the Senate president was going to, that the Senate as a whole, given just how a number of them already felt about this particular matter, was going to be able to carry out justice? Wouldn't it have been safer, to seek justice in the courts, given, some of the reactions of some of the members especially in the Senate already? I don't want to say the National Assembly.
Yeah, she believed that she will get justice from the senators, from the Senate. Reason being that some of the members, some of the senators are aware of what she was talking about.
The sexual harassment case?
No, they are aware of the fact that some of our rights have been deprived. But the reason for the alleged deprivation is what they don't know. So this was the first time she was saying that. And that was as a result of a protracted, altercation. She has had to present a bill for the Ajakuta, and the Senate president have told her that, you have to keep it on hold. She has approached the Senate president, and the Senate president just said, don't worry, said a lot of things. So she had confidence that the Senate were going to look at it, if not for what it's worth, just to give her the right of fair hearing. And what was expected was that the Senate president, since the allegation was against him, he was supposed to have stepped aside and let the deputy Senate president preside. But that was what she was expecting. But the anger was that was not done. Instead, she was being vilified. Instead, she was being shouted at as being, her conduct being, against the Senate rule and all of that. So that was the issue. And she was really confused that our fellow senators could not even give her the right of fair hearing, not to come talk about the rightness or wrongness of her allegation. So what she was confused about was that I should be given the right of fair hearing. You can conclude and say, it never happened, haven't investigated this matter. But you didn't give me the right to be heard. And that is the major issue. So you could as well have listened to her. She would have presented a complaint to the committee. The committee could have just come up to say, haven't investigated. We discovered that was not true. That could have been the end. Then she would not be left with whether to continue with it or to go to the court. But she was not given such opportunity. And that is the bane of the contention.
Well, we do know, as I did say earlier, that this matter is a developing story. I mean, with Justice Egwatu stepping down now, and this matter at John Sinadine, I don't know, there's nothing that can be done with it, is there?
I'm really surprised because that is the court that should have either declared the action of the Senate as being as unlawful and illegal. The court has now adjourned Sinadine, waiting for the Chief Judge of Federal High Court to assign. There's a process of recall. So you will just see that there is this, you know, these manipulations coming from wherever quota is coming from. Because so maybe somebody just wants, oh, we want this process to go on. No, I think talking about democracy, I think people who go to court should be allowed, the court should be allowed to do their job. And whoever is aggrieved should be allowed to approach the court to express his grievances. And the court should take a position, whether or not that particular action is right or wrong. That should be the duty of the court. But people should not be muzzled. Like I always say, that the country will continue to die when the oppressed, the voice of the oppressed is removed from them. And that is the case of Natasha. We are saying that she felt oppressed. Let her be given the opportunity to express herself. Let her be given the opportunity to be heard. And whatever the result is an issue for another day.
We certainly will keep tabs with you on this. But excuse me, we have to thank you very much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you for having
Mr. Victor Gewa is a legal practitioner and also one of the lawyers on the legal team of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan.